Hello everyone, my name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
And today we'll be reacting to yet another story from Mr. Ballin, who's
Great.
Great storyteller on YouTube. I'm pretty sure everyone watching this video knows who we're talking about. John B. Allen used to be a Navy SEAL and tells amazing stories. And he has a series.
Did you say Mr. Ballin?
Yeah, well.
You want me to generate a million comments or no?
Let's just not go into the
Okay, I won't, Mr. B. Allen.
Controversy. But anyway, he has this series called Top three Places You Shouldn't Go But People Go Anyway, or something like that is called. And in one of those videos, he talked about this story called Swiss Cheese. And it's a group of cave divers. They go into a cave, and the cave looks like Swiss cheese, meaning there's passages everywhere. And they deal with some issues.
Okay.
Of course, we know that because they're in Mr. Ballin.
Well, then this is a very serious video. Like a serious topic, which is why I want to show you.
I'm glad you dressed for the occasion. That's why.
I'm just
Since when
saying,
do alligators shake their tails like dogs?
No, what I'm...
Who made this hat?
Well, they do. I'm now somewhat of an alligator expert. I'll just give a hint about what's coming.
Wow.
And your eyes made it seem like you may not believe that.
All right.
Anyway, I love alligators.
Okay, well,
they're sweet in a way.
Let's talk about Mr. Ballin.
Situated an hour's drive from Johannesburg in South Africa lies Sterkfontein Cave. The cave is famous for the fossils that have been found there and also for its underground lake, whose walls look like Swiss cheese. There's all these tunnels that spider all over the place. Many of them are unexplored, and no one knows how deep the cave actually goes. In 1984, cave diver Peter Verhulst, along with two of his friends, decided they wanted to explore these passageways in the lake, and specifically they wanted to check out a chamber called Milner Hall, which was fairly far down in the lake. There was a guideline that was anchored from the surface of the lake all the way down into the different sections that had been explored, and this was so cave divers could hold on to it and make their way through without getting lost. Not that I've ever been cave diving, but from what I've read, there is one golden rule. You never let go of the guideline. And if you do...
Let's talk about that.
Did you pause it? Because I paused it.
No, I saw that you were gonna pause it, so I didn't pause it myself.
Okay, you go first.
Yeah,
I have a comment, and
so this is kind of like a dual comment. Number one is when we react to Mr. Ballin's videos, we get two types of comments. One is people telling us we should have more respect for Mr. Ballin, which I don't think that's possible. I have the utmost respect.
That's why we like to react to his videos. Right. He's the best.
Yeah, and he's a great dude. The second thing is, Mr. Ballin was a Navy SEAL. I think he knows more about diving than you guys. Okay, combat diving, the type of diving the SEALs do, I know nothing about. So on that, 100% he knows more than us. But like you just heard from him, he's not a cave diver. Navy SEALs don't train to learn how to dive in caves. Nobody's fighting wars inside a cave, right? So... he's not a cave diver, so let's just put that out of the way. Now, let's talk about the guideline. Because he is right, one of the golden rules, there's 5, golden rules of cave diving has to do with a guideline. However, we don't hang on to the guideline, right? This is not like climbing mountains where people have, what are those called, Woody? Like Jumars, I think, or whatever? You put it on the line and you like climb up and like pull yourself up or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
They're not called that, but yeah.
All right, I don't remember the name, but anyway,
you're always clipped in on a line. You're never not clipped.
Right, you're clipped on the line. When you're diving, we are never clipped to the line. It will be nightmare to be carabiner or whatever clipped into the line when you're diving. We just have to be aware where the line is. It's called cave awareness. You know where the line is at all times. So if something happens, like your lights go off, if things get silted out, whatever, you can go and find your line. Right? So that's basically it. You're not hanging on to the line. The rule is not that you have to have contact to the line at all times. It's that you know where the line is.
Perfect.
It better be extremely well planned, and you should do it with other divers present. Peter was a notorious risk taker and was the least experienced cave diver of the 3. When they entered the lake, they were all holding the guideline, and Peter was the third back. And so they began descending down into the lake, and at some point, Peter's curiosity got the better of him, and he left the line to go look at the wall where there was, something he wanted to look at.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll say really, really fast is that he did make a comment that you should do it with other divers present. I happen to like that. I happen to have my own personal rule that I don't solo cave dive. But I know a lot of cave divers watch our channel, and they do solo cave dive.
Right.
That's not one of the golden rules. Funny enough, you can dive solo in a cave.
That's what we call it. That we have 6 golden rules of cave diving. Number
Yes.
6 being never solo cave dive.
I happen to don't feel experienced enough. I feel like I have a lot more safety options when we're there to take care of each other. But you don't have to do that.
Right.
And luckily, the other 2 divers noticed it, they saw him, and they swam over and got him and brought him back to the guideline. And even though you can't communicate underwater, I'm sure they looked at him like, come on, don't do that. And they kept going down, and then once again, Peter's curiosity gets the better of him. He leaves the guideline and goes over and checks something else out. The other 2 divers notice again, they turn around, they grab him, and they pull him back. And now they're looking at him like, you can't do this, no more. And so Peter's body language indicated that he got it, and he was back on the guideline. He's not going to do it again. And they continue down, and they're getting closer to Milner Hall when the first 2 turn around to check on Peter, and he's gone. And now previously, when they found him those other 2 times when he left the guideline, he was just over right against the wall, and he was easy to spot. But this time, he wasn't. They're looking around with their lights, and he's nowhere to be found.
I stopped it. I don't know if you want to go over this. When you say when he's saying you can't leave the guideline, you can.
Right.
And there's a procedure for it.
Right.
But you're never not on a line. That's the rule. You tie off on the guideline, so we have extra reels with us.
Right.
And let's say you want to go explore an area. You're not necessarily going to another line. You just want to go look at something, frankly, far enough away where you wouldn't necessarily see the primary line that you're leaving. You tie off on it. Gus is holding up a reel. He can show you what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And you reel out. Basically, go over, look at what you're looking at. Well, nice, whatever, and then reel yourself back on. So certainly if I saw you venturing off, and now I can't even see you anymore, and you didn't tie off, whoa, we would be like, no, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
That's what we mean by not leaving the line.
Yeah. And by the way, if you lose a buddy, which is not common for this to happen, we're all, trained cave divers. We're all following the team, and we're all shining our lights in a way that the person in front of you can see that you're behind them. So if you fall back or whatever, let's say you get a leg cramp or something, they're swimming and you get a leg cramp, you have to hang on or wait, until the leg cramp goes away. You have to take care of that. Once the person in front of you doesn't see your light, they'll know something is wrong. They'll come back. That has happened to me, by the way, multiple times for a variety of reasons. I remember when I was learning how to be a cave diver, I was training with Doug. And Doug, at Little River, he was swimming, so fast. And, man, 5 minutes into it, I was exhausted.
I remember that.
I'm like,
I
okay,
do.
dude, I got to stop. I'm going to pass out. I'm going to overbreathe my loop. So I just stopped. And within 30 seconds, Doug was back. Oh, I didn't see your light anymore. What's up? And I'm like, dude, just hold. I'm gonna die. And so we do that. But the thing is, if you lose your body, as Woody was mentioning, we use spools that we carry with us on every dive. No matter what your role is, you will have safety spools with you because we will tie it into the line and we will roll and go find the diver. In my training, Woody was the lost diver. You got lost several times, like an idiot. On purpose, of course.
Thank you
for
that,
training.
man. I'm not sure how to respond.
Well, it was
on
purpose.
Look, we do that. That's a drill. It's a very important drill. So
Yeah.
I loved playing the bad or lost student. I'm
that's it,
especially on Gus, and I'm like, bye-bye.
Yeah, so he got.
But
he
there's
got
a
lost.
way
So-
to deal with this, and
Yep.
that's why. And if you would mention this particular reel, you see how it's pre-rigged with that loop that he just went through.
Yep.
Boy, let me tell you, when you need it and you're in a hurry, having it pre-rigged and having all that extra room in the little holes around the spool so you can easily thread that in and out
Right.
is really handy.
Yep. So this pool is 60 meters or 200 feet. So I can go in any direction looking for my body. But what I was trying to say is, before I forget, once you find your body, there's no looking at him wrong like, Peter, don't do it again. No. You put him in front of you and you tell him, go. There's no
You're like, no,
go
no,
in the
no.
bag and hope for the best. No. Is, oh, you want to be that guy? You get in the middle, sandwich between us. You're not doing that again. So that's the procedure.
And by the way,
there's a few more details that we'll disclose later on in the video as it progresses about lost diver, what to do if you lose your body and can't find him, and all of that. That will come up later on. So we'll talk about it.
What I was going to say though is I really want to compliment any cave diver that I've dove with. Honestly, either they're not going to do that. We're very respectful to each other if you're properly trained. I've just not seen people do it on purpose. Or if they did it and you even told them one time, like you had to go get them, can you imagine anybody that we cave dive with ever then ignoring that and doing it again? No, there's no way that would happen, at least with the people we dive with. All right, that was a long explanation. We won't stop it so much, but that was really necessary. I think it's going to set up a lot for the rest of this video.
Right.
And they're not prepared to go leave into one of these tunnels to go looking for him because there was so many. It was like Swiss cheese down there with all these different tunnels he could have gone into, and they didn't know which one he went in.
Looks beautiful.
And so after kind of waiting and looking around for a couple of minutes, thinking maybe he'll come back, they were running out of air, and they had to go to the surface. So the two men surface, they call the police, they explain what happened. Rescue divers are sent to the cave to go looking for Peter, but by the time they even got there, it had been several hours. It takes a while to mount this type of search.
Just a quick interruption here. He mentioned that there's a bunch of tunnels and they didn't know which one they went to. In real life, most caves will have silt on them, and you can absolutely tell where people went because there will be silt. Unless they're like immaculate cave divers that would never silt the place out, then you can struggle. But if you're just a regular diver, you know, that don't really know, like this guys didn't even have spools. I don't think they're expert cave divers. You can pretty much tell, like, oh, he went that direction because that's the only tunnel that's silted out. Or there's some disturbance. You can see there's a little disturb. So, anyway, that's...
And Peter only had one tank of air. And so if he hasn't surfaced by now, the thought is he's drowned at this point.
Single
but
tank
the rescue divers go into the lake. They head down to the area where Peter was last seen. And they look around and they can't find him. And they surface pretty quickly. And they say, look, we're just not prepared to look through all these different tunnels he could have gone in just to find his body. Because at this point, there's no way he's alive. He's been down here for hours. He doesn't have enough air. And one of the rescue divers, is going to get trapped in one of these tunnels, and we don't want to lose anyone. So we're terminating the search. Peter's friends are devastated, and they say, hey, can you let us go down and look for Peter's body for his family? And the police said, no, we're banning diving in this cave. 6 weeks after Peter went missing inside of this lake, a group of dry cavers were doing some work in a chamber that was right next to this underground lake. And they were chiseling this wall when all of a sudden the wall kind of collapsed, revealing another chamber on the other side of this wall. They took their flashlight out and they looked inside, and it looked like a tunnel that kind of weaved around the corner. And they shined their light on the ground, and it looked like there were some muddy or sandy footprints that were left, as if someone had been walking right there. The cavers were initially terrified, the idea that there's anything living behind the walls inside of a cave. But they stepped over and they walked around the corner, and it revealed this huge air pocket that clearly was connected to the underground lake, because there was water right in the middle of this air pocket, and there was no other way in besides, this wall that's collapsed. And in the middle of the water, there was this island. It was like this sandy, muddy, rocky island right in the middle of this air pocket. And laying on the island was Peter. In a stroke of luck, after Peter went missing from his dive, he had discovered this air pocket, and he had surfaced and climbed onto this island. He knew he didn't have enough air in his air tank to get to the surface again, and so he figured, okay, I'll just sit on this island. There seems to be enough air in here for me. I'll wait until my dive buddies invariably go get help and come down here and rescue me.
So weird. He didn't...
So
I'm trying to stop it. So weird he didn't try to stab himself in the heart at that point, huh?
What I was positive for is, oh man, if they would have let those rescue divers go back in and the police didn't stop that, he would have been probably found. Probably. Yeah. I mean, he probably survived in that air pocket for a number of days, I would presume.
Right. And obviously, the other thing I wanted to mention, and we do get this comment once in a while, is that this was in 1984. I mean, that's almost, 40 years ago. It doesn't seem like that long, but depending on when you're watching this. But I don't know if they had the same procedures we have now because of accidents like this. Like a lot of our rules and procedures were written in blood, basically. People dying for us to learn to be safer when it comes to cave diving. And now when we lose a body, you will search for them until you can search anymore. These guys were in open circuit. Apparently they had only one tank, which is suicidal. In my opinion, going into a cave with just a single tank. But, what we do is we go looking for a body, And when you cannot find them, meaning you have critical amount of air to get out of there, you cannot find them anymore, what you do is, because you're using the spool, as we mentioned before, to tie into a line and going out and always coming back to the main guideline that will take you out of the cave. At some point, if you can't find them anymore, you actually leave a light like this one. That's why we dive with 4 lights, Woody and I do. We leave a light, a backup light, and the rules say 3 at least, but we dive with 4, because I can take one of my lights, leave it on the guideline, ready for Peter to come back. Because the idea is, if he somehow makes it out, maybe his light failed, that's how he got lost or whatever, once he finds the line and he starts following it on the way out, he will then find my light, turn it on, and use it to get out of there. So, like, that is procedure that I'm not sure when that was written. I don't know if accidents like this is what, you know, made people to start teaching others that if you lose your body and cannot find them, leave a light for them. You also leave all the jumps. So if we did any jumps to navigate inside the cave, typically you take those out on the way out. But if somebody got lost, or you get to a T to get out and there's a cookie there telling somebody that they haven't come out yet, then you leave your jumps in. That was another thing that came on the Donald Cerrone video, which is, well, his body removed all the jumps. Well, why? Because Donald Cerrone wasn't using cookies. His body thought Donald Cerrone was out. He took the jumps out. But if Donald Cerrone used cookies and he got lost because he lost the line, that's what he claimed, then his body would have gotten there, see the cookie, leave all the jumps in, and perhaps even leave a light for him.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well explained. All right, let's continue. We don't have much left.
Let's do it.
I want to make one more comment if it comes up here at the end.
Pocket for 3 weeks, waiting for a rescue that never arrived.
Yeah.
Before he ultimately died of starvation, he wrote a message in the sand to his mother and to his wife, telling them that he loved them. To this day, diving is still prohibited inside of Sterkfontein Cave.
Well,
That was it.
wow, yeah. I mean, just a couple of thoughts is another thing that didn't come up that I want to discuss is what happens if you're the diver that basically loses the line. You do venture off. You're the guy that goes off. You lose your light. So you also now lost your light and you ventured off. What do? Because we even have a procedure for that. This is something that you all maybe would find interesting. Again, here comes the extra safety spool. This time you tie it off to wherever you are on something, a rock or something, kind of like a primary tie-off. You're literally going to go around that thing like 3 times and then pull it back the opposite way so it sort of pulls and locks in on itself. And then you're going to go looking. You're literally blind at this point. So you're going to have one hand up in the air so you don't clobber your head on stuff, you know, and you're just, imagine going up and down with your hand. You're just trying to find the line. And you probably are going to go in a single direction. Nope, didn't find it. Reel your way back in. Go back another way. So you kind of could ultimately make a circle around sort of this primary tie-off spot that you're at. And it gives you a pretty good chance of finding that line. Again, now, if you found it, you were successful. Obviously, you're going to leave that reel that you're going to tie back off on the main line that you just found, blind. Okay, you're going to put a cookie, a marker, on the exit side, the direction that you went in to exit. And you're knowing that you exit right. There's so many cool procedures in cave diving because ultimately now you are not going to let go of the line. So that is a time where you're not going to anymore.
Right.
You found it. You have no light. You're not going to let go of it. And you're going to find an arrow. And if the arrow is pointing in the direction you're going, that's a good thing. You know you're going towards the exit. If not, you're going to go back the other way, move your cookie to the other side.
That's what the arrow looks like.
And find the arrow pointing the other way. And now you have a main line all the way out with arrows that you can follow out. So you see, the reason why I explained all that, amazing procedures that we have in cave diving. So when we hear cave diving is deadly, you're crazy to go cave diving, you're insane to go cave diving, I want to add some clarity that with proper training, I know I say this on every video, that there really are a lot of procedures in place that make it, I want to say, safe for cave divers that follow the rules.
Correct.
Like, He went in there with a single tank. We didn't even stop it on that. You kind of overspoke over the video.
Right.
Like, wow. You can't go very far on a single tank of air in cave diving. Rule of thirds at the most. You maybe if you have a really low surface air consumption rate, could have gone 500 feet maybe back in that cave for most people. That's not very far from the main entrance. So I want to put all that in perspective. We don't cave dive without having a buddy. We happen to only cave dive on a rebreather.
Yep.
I believe that gives us even more safety, right? Because we are bringing extra tanks in case we have to bail out. And then we follow these procedures. So I'm closing the video with, wow, how awesome is it to be a cave diver and have this incredible set of procedures that we follow every single time we go. And this video made me think of all those amazing procedures that were set up for this.
And shout out to Mr. Ballin for another great story.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Great story.
really
I wish,
well said.
I wish he became a cave diver. It would be
I just-
awesome to go diving,
Well,
diving with them.
I wish he, I really one time would just like to meet him, thank him. Frankly, we have these videos to react to because of him.
Yeah.
He's extremely detailed, and what an incredible storyteller. We are fans of him.
Oh,
when we
huge.
correct things many times that he said, if you use the word correction, by the way, he messages us and says, guys, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, he's happy, but we don't criticize him.
We're just
because
adding clarity.
We're just adding clarity. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Absolutely.
Did I mention that I love alligators and that it does this?
That's okay. So this is, of course, not the first time we've reacted to a Mr. Ballin story. There's a bunch of really good ones, like the hole in Australia that has killed 16 people. That was interesting. We got a lot of feedback for that. And I'm going to leave that one right here. You guys can go ahead and check that out, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.